Time for sound design. In today's video, I'm going to use the EP-133 Knockout tool from Teenage Engineering. And of course, I'm not going to review this because there's plenty of reviews already and I never really do reviews anyway. So I'm going to use it to do some sound design. I've used this now for a while and one of the things I really enjoy is the delay effect. So not one of the master effects, but just the regular delay effect. And if you crank up the feedback control, so there are two parameters. You have the length and the feedback. So it's the right one on the black knob. If you crank that all the way up, you can, and you decrease the delay time, you can get really out of control, self-oscillating delay sounds. And that is cool. So I'm going to record those sounds into Ableton and see if I can create a sampled instrument from that out of control feedback. And I'll show you here on the desk what I'm doing with the device. So let's first turn it on. You get this nice flash of the screen with all the icons lit. And the sample that I'm going to use today is a vocal sample. And it sounds like this.
Stem uit de groef. Mijn stem mag met mij een heel leven mee.
So it's from a Dutch spoken word artist. It is a bit of a noisy sample, but that doesn't really matter. What I want to do now is apply the delay effect to this sample, trigger the sample, play with the controls and with the fader, so the dry wet, and basically create a bunch of wild sounds, and I'll record those into Ableton and then we can do some sound design with that. So let's get started.
Stem uit de groef. Stem uit de groef. Stem uit de groef. Stem uit de groef. Mijn stem uit de groef. Mijn stem mag met mij een heel Mijn stem mag met mij. Stem.
Alright, so as you can hear, pretty wild sounds, and that's just from a vocal sample with a delay effect, so it's very basic. Of course, you can do this with many delays. There's a lot of guitar effect pedals, like for instance, the Boss DD8 on some of the settings at least, especially the digital ones, you can really, but also I think because it's analog emulation, you can get these really out of control spiraling sounds. So that's one nice little use of this sampler. So now let's go to Ableton and look at this recording and see if we can pick out a little bit and use that in sampler. So this is the recording. Let's also look at the tuner if there's any kind of identifiable note, because that would be nice.
Stem.
I think this sound is nice. Somewhere here. Let's copy that and put that into sampler. So the first thing to do is adjust the release time to 100 milliseconds instead of 10 seconds. And then let's zoom in and play the original pitch.
Stem mag met mij.
So it is sort of a D. It's not super stable. Let's turn on the loop mode. And add a little bit of crossfade. If you play it higher up the keyboard, it becomes very sort of digital. I mean, it's very ugly in a beautiful way, maybe. But if you play it lower on the keyboard, it becomes a bit spooky. Let's add a little bit of attack, maybe 50. And let's make it monophonic. So it's sort of a D. Let's put this, the root note, on D. I mean, it's not very stable. It has a lot of low rumble. Let's maybe remove that. There's a little bit of a ringing sound to it. That's very high. So if you also look at the EQ, there's something here around 14. I'm not sure if we want that, so I'm gonna cut it out at 12.5. But especially like this note, for instance, there's a nice little sort of ringing sound. Let's add some effects. What about a delay? I mean, the sound is from a delay, so let's add the delay again. Filter the output a bit, make it a bit more stereo spread. If you play it one more octave lower, you really bring out the ringing. Now with the delay, this sounds pretty... Maybe put a phaser on this to make it even more spooky. Maybe dry wet at around 60. And let's group them all into an instrument rack so I can save it for later. EP-133 feedback spooky. Let's assign some macros, so maybe the amount of phaser, the dry wet, and also the amount of delay, dry wet. So the original pitch is it's kind of interesting because it is, since it's pitched up, it becomes it's a bit falling apart, but then one octave lower, it's nicer, and 2 octaves lower, it's even better. Just to give it some context, let's put on some drums and then play a little bit of a melody on top of these drums, so you have a bit of an idea how you could use this. So the tempo, I'm gonna do 124. I'm just gonna load up some basic drums. Maybe something like this. A nice wood block. Oh, there's a very fat kick drum. Let's use this wood block for something, but maybe for the basic snare we want something more simple. And then let's, wait, maybe in hi-hat. Let's do a little shaker on the offbeat. All right, now that we have a drum beat, let's create a melody. I'm gonna play it 2 octaves lower than the original pitch. So in C1. Let's create something in D minor. And let's turn off the delay for the last note of the melody. Let's see if that works. Let's make the melody a 4-bar loop. Oh. And let's do the high note only on the last. So yeah, that's the sound that the sampled instrument that I created with the EP-133 Knockout 2. The vocal sample that I used sounds like this.
Stem uit de groef.
And then with the delay effect, turning the feedback up all the way and decreasing the delay time to create these wild feedback sounds. And then in Ableton, I created this instrument from it. And then with some drums, it sounds like this. So that's a very basic pattern, but this is something definitely I can build upon, add some bass, add another synthesizer. The nice thing about sampling in this way and creating a sampled instrument is that you get that kind of ringing sound really out of the sound because you play it 2 octaves lower. And even though it's a digital device and I'm sampling into Ableton, you still get that kind of character that otherwise you wouldn't have if you just use it as is. So that's kind of cool. Let me know if you have tried the EP-133, how you use it in your production. Do you sample it? Do you use it standalone? If you're interested in sampled instruments, I have 2 libraries over on Gumroad. They're free to download. They consist of many sampled instruments that I created. Some of them I have videos on of how I did it. It's a variety of sources from vinyl to synthesizers to objects. So go check that out if you're interested. As always, keep making music. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.